Welcome back to another episode of Motivate with Coach Camp. I, of course, am your host, Coach Camp, and I bet you know something. We're down here in these well-lit, amazing studios of SRP with Mr. Derek Michaud. All right, folks, here we go. Look, I'm kicking off a small little two-part series. I have two guests kind of highlighting the military. You guys know how I do this. I love my first responders out there, your fire, police, EMS, and then, of course, I always like to highlight our military members. And I've been very blessed to have some incredible stories told right here at this desk. Today is going to be another one of those amazing moments. I know you guys want to stick around. Today I have with me Mr. Cecil Brunson and his daughter Angela. They come here to tell their story, his backstory of being in the Vietnam War, being a fighter pilot, being shot down, being a prisoner, and then later his daughter writing books about the war songs that they used, both for torture and for healing. And look, I got news for you. There's a lot of that I don't know, so I'm going to be asking questions and learning as you learn on this show. So I'm going to say, stick around. Do not go anywhere. Get you some popcorn, get you some drink. But first, let's just hear a quick word from my amazing sponsors. Hello, everybody. I just wanted to have a quick second to let you guys know how much it means to me that you are my sponsor. SRP Studios, The Real Hernando, The Rhythm Section, Hardwick, Heating, Cooling, and Air Quality, Estes, Grading, Hodge Homes, Adair, Honey Farm, Miss Hippie Eats, Phones R Us, Ross, Sod Farms and Landscaping, Ivy Rain, Women's Clinic, Tonic POS by Tyler Young, and Coffee Central. Thank you guys so much for being a sponsor. If you'd like to be a sponsor, go to my website now, motivatecoachcamp.com, and click on the button. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Welcome back. Here we are today. I have with me Mr. Cecil Brunson and Miss Angela. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Good. How about you?
I am doing well. I've ordered some nice weather outside, so the sun's finally back. It's a little chilly, but not bad. Definitely a lot warmer than it's been, so I'm thankful for that.
Very much so.
All right, so let's jump into this. Look, we've got a lot to talk about. This is a pretty exciting thing. So we'll start with you, Mr. Cecil. So let's just get some background real quick. Where did you grow up? Where are you from?
I'm from Memphis.
Oh, so you grew up right here in Memphis, Tennessee.
Memphis, yeah.
How about that? Where'd you go to school?
Longview Elementary, Southside High School, and then Memphis State. Okay,
so stayed right here in the good old hometown of Memphis, Tennessee, which, absolutely. By the way, for the viewers out there that are way outside this area, Hernando, Mississippi, I know y'all hear me talk about that. We're like 10 minutes down the road from Memphis, so it's like basically just a suburb of Memphis, if you will. So growing up, what were some of your influences? What kind of family members? Like, did you have other military members and such in your family?
Yeah, my brother was in the Air Force also. He kind of was my mentor in that.
How much older is he?
7 years.
7 years. All right, that's significant. I'm 6 years older than my brother. There was a big age gap there. So he definitely looked up to a lot of the things I did. So then what did he do in the Air Force?
He was a missile launch officer.
Interesting. So what does the missile launch officer do?
They sat down the silos with those Atlas missiles and two-man concept. And if the balloon went up, they both had to put the keys in and turn them at the same time and to launch the missiles.
This is top secret clearance, I would imagine.
Yeah.
How about that? So I was a satellite operator to my very first job before I went to a database analyst, which I was telling you about. Mm-hmm. Thought it was going to be cool. It was the most boring freaking job in the world. We didn't have no keys or nothing. We just had a dark room with a DOS screen. I'm like, what did I sign up for? I got to get out of here. So I didn't have something as cool as keys being turned. So then what made you want to become a pilot? Because at some point you joined the Air Force. Where was the thought for being a pilot? Did you have pilots in your family?
No, I was kind of the first one.
Interesting.
It was just an interest for me.
Okay. So what was that like? What was the schooling like? Because I know that you don't just get to say, hey, I want to be a pilot. And they're like, you're in.
Well, I started out as a navigator.
Okay.
I started out 9 months of training as a navigator. Went down to George Air Force Base out in Victorville, California for transition to the F-4.
Okay.
Flew as a weapons system operator.
So explain a little bit about what navigator does, because for the layperson out there, I kind of have an idea, but explain that detail as to what a navigator is actually doing.
Well, navigator in the old days, we don't do that much anymore because we all have GPS, but we did celestial navigation, map reading, just every kind of navigation you could imagine.
Okay.
But when I went to the F-4, that kind of went out the window because the F-4 had inertial navigation system, so I'll be just putting the coordinates of where I wanted to go, and it would tell me how to get there.
It's almost like a Tesla of today.
Exactly.
Except it was in the sky.
Yeah.
That was pretty good. So then how old were you when you went in the military?
23 when I went in.
Okay. So did you go, I guess you went straight to U of M, graduated, got your bachelor's degree, and then went straight on into the Air Force from there.
Yeah, I got my commission as a second lieutenant through the ROTC at Memphis State, and got married a month later, and a month later I got my orders to active duty.
So what you're saying is you went through college, graduated, got married, and went into active duty.
Yeah.
That's a lot of big life moments at 23 years of age.
Yeah.
What is your parents thinking at this moment? Let's just bring them into the picture for a hot minute.
Well, they were probably glad to get rid of me because I was living at home to go to school.
He was the fourth son.
I was the last.
Fourth son. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So then that gap between you and the other brothers, so you had two other brothers.
Had three brothers.
So altogether, man, that's a big family. Yeah. And you were the last of the four?
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to agree with you. Your parents were probably like, man, I don't know how we survived this. They've been through their own war just then with four boys, no doubt about it. I don't even know you, and I know that's tough. So then how old were you when you went to, so you got orders, you said active duty. How old were you when you went to Vietnam? Is that the active orders you talk about?
Well, actually, went through training for 2 years.
Okay.
And after 2 years of training, I went to Vietnam. I was 24 years old.
Oh, so you went to 24 years. So 1 year, within 1 year time of going active duty, getting married, you're on your way to Vietnam.
Yeah.
Wow. What'd your wife say about that? It's not a great honeymoon.
I'm not sure she was real happy with that.
Wouldn't imagine. So, yeah, but she knew what she signed up for at that point, obviously.
Yeah.
Where were you guys stationed at that time?
From George Air Force Base, I went straight over to Vietnam. She went back home to Memphis and stayed in school at the University at Memphis State at the time.
Okay. And so when you went over there, did they give you an idea of how long you're going to be there?
It was a 1-year tour.
So you knew it was going to be 12 months. That's how it usually works.
That's what I was hoping it was going to be. Anyway.
Well, yes, obviously. There's things that we will talk about that changed that idea. I have an uncle that went, and that was his thing. He had a 12-month tour. And just a short little story on this. I told him he's the luckiest and most unlucky person I've ever met. He was in the 101st Airborne Division. He's in the Army.
Goodness.
And they jumped into hot zone, and they're there for a whole year, and he avoids getting shot until his last day in country. He was to be deployed the next morning when he got shot, which I say that's the most – you're the luckiest and unlucky because you're unlucky because you're about to be out of there, but you're lucky because it didn't kill you.
That's true.
Obviously. So you got to – you just had to recover for a while longer before you had to – be able to come on back home. So interesting scenario.
There were guys that were stuck over there for 9 years. So
I know.
Yeah.
Yes, that is. And you know what? So I know you guys know some of these folks, and I'm going to blend all this in. By the way, we're going to be talking to Angela in a minute because she has a big part to do with her dad's story and how they go around and share your story. Because let's just face it, anyone that's had some kind of event like this, it's not something that the average Joe will ever experience, nor will they want to. Yeah. But just knowing that positivity and the ability to be able to push forward, man, that's where the inspiration comes from. But I was just sitting here thinking to myself, man, you go and you serve, but I don't know that every person thinks about what could happen if you get captured. Probably at war, you think about, I could die, but the idea of being captured, and I think if I'm not mistaken, like the longest in captivity was like 12 years or something, right?
I just know the guys in North Vietnam, 9 years was the longest, but there were people in the South as well. But I did ask my dad one time, had he thought about what would happen? And he's like, oh, no, I was young. I was invincible. Nothing could happen to me.
And I think that's probably a common sentiment. True. A lot of young guys go into the military, even to this day. That's not different from one generation to the next, I wouldn't believe. And they do feel a slight bit of invincibility. Mm-hmm. Or I think the other flip to that is they think about, well, if they go out, they'll go out in a blaze of glory, so to speak. And the idea of being captured and then who knows if and when you'll ever be rescued. That's the mental game of all this, which we're going to get into really quickly here. So then when you get over there, and at 24 now you're doing these flight missions, I want to throw in a couple of little statistics for you guys because this actually builds the story. So it was in 1972, correct?
Yes.
And you're 24, and you did 160 combat missions. You were flying an F-4, correct?
That's true.
All right, so you're flying an F-4, 160 combat missions. You had 380 combat hours during that 1 year span that you were flying, you were over there deployed, doing your thing.
Yes.
How far into your deployment to country did the moment happen, and walk us through what it was like when you got shot down?
Well, I guess I need to start with my first mission over there.
Yeah, do that. These are the things I don't know to ask, so definitely throw it at me.
It was a really simple mission, a milk run of sorts.
Okay.
And target was a suspected ammo dump on top of a mountain in the Barrel Roll region of Laos. And I had a 4 ship of F-4s, each one carrying 12 500-pound bombs. we were number 3 in the formation. Got in over the target area, and lead rolls in, and a few seconds later, 2 rolls in. A few seconds later, we roll in. That's about the time lead's bombs are hitting the ground, exploding. And I think that's what woke up the gunners on the ground, because all of a sudden, golf ball-sized tracers are flashing by my cockpit.
Oh, wow.
So we're jinking going down the chute, and dropped our bombs and pulled off. And I looked back, and I could see the bombs exploding, secondary explosions going off, the whole mountaintop erupting in flame.
It's like a movie.
And that's when I realized my hands were shaking, and my throat was so dry I couldn't even speak. And that was the day I figured out what fear was.
Yeah.
And I flew many months flying every kind of mission you could imagine, from dropping bombs, napalm, strafing with troops in contact, bar cap, SAR cap, MiG cap, hunter-killer missions, fast-fac missions. I flew everything you could imagine.
And during this 160 combat missions, did you have guys, friends of yours that were having problems with getting shot down, not making it back?
I only had one close friend that he was flying the F-105s. They were doing the hunter-killer missions with us. And Mike was a backseater in a 105, and it was hard to realize that he didn't come home.
Yeah.
And it was tough.
So whenever you guys are getting the call to go on the next thing, what does that look like? Walk me through that moment where you're in the barracks and they're like, we're calling up team, whatever. How does that work?
Well, we would have a schedule.
Oh, so you guys knew in advance. It wasn't always like a surprise attack.
Well, we knew the next day.
Gotcha.
That late at night they would post the schedule of who was flying and what the mission was, and we knew going in, are we going to be staying? Are we going to Laos? Are we going to South Vietnam? Going north to North Vietnam? So we had kind of an idea. Mm-hmm. And at Karat, we had we'd drop bombs, but we also did a lot of cap or escort missions, escorting other bombers. When we went up north, generally we were escorting other bombers. So we kind of knew what we were going to be doing.
Yeah.
And sometimes we might not know the exact target until we got in the briefing, because some of that stuff was held very close.
And how many jets would go with you in like a mission? What would be like a normal outfit, if you would?
Well, it would depend on the mission. When we went up north, we'd usually have about 16 F-4s, 4 ship of F-105s, and there might be 16 bombers, F-4 bombers coming out of Udorn or Utapao or someplace like that.
Okay.
So it was a large group of planes going north.
Yeah. So it just always depended on what your target was, how long the mission was going to be. I'm assuming you guys probably did some longer missions where maybe you had to refuel. I know that was a thing for some of the guys I knew.
We refueled every mission.
Every mission. So you're going deep, having to work, do some stuff, come on back.
I was stationed at Karat, Thailand. So every time we took off for a mission, generally it was over Laos, we'd go ahead and refuel.
Yeah.
If we were going north, we'd refuel over Laos and again refuel over the Gulf of Tonkin probably. So long missions.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough one time in my Air Force career, and I don't know what I did during this quarterly thing to be so, you get awarded, so they give you awards to get to go do stuff. I got to ride in a C-5 while they did a refueling mission, practice missions. Yeah. And you lay down in the belly of the plane where you got the glass, and I can lay down there and just watch the planes fly up to the boom. Oh, yeah. And I'm taking pictures of that, and I'm just like, man, this is wild.
They're just flying formation with
Just flying formation, just zip up and then connect right on in.
Oh, yeah.
Easy peasy. I was like, man, that's pretty awesome. Yeah, it looked easy.
It's terrifying to me.
They made it look easy.
Just flying in formation, they're so close to each other.
I know.
Like, how do you not hit each other?
I watched a thing about the Thunderbirds, not to get distracted here, but just talking about, they do 18 inches during their flight, their shows do, and that's what they work on, and it's the pressure of the wind speed or something that keeps them from bumping or something. They get so close that it's just, it's like this, and I'm like, you got to have some cojones. That's all I'm saying. I'm just going to leave it at that. That's incredible stuff. I'm just, that's wild.
Flying formation is not much different than driving a car down the freeway, and you're flying formation basically on the freeway, driving along beside each other, 70, 80 miles an hour.
There's something to be said about that in Memphis.
500 miles an hour, though.
That's true. We don't. But I'm going to say this part. If you're driving in Memphis, some may try. Yeah. And it is almost as dangerous. So I have to say that is kind of fact. All right. So here it is now. You've done this 160 missions. How long have you been in country at that point?
I got in country in February, and my last mission was October.
Okay, so you were closing in. You weren't quite there, but you were closing in
Yeah.
on the finish line of your tour.
Yeah.
And what was the game plan? You were going to finish up at Vietnam, go back home, continue your life,
Yeah.
have some kids, do your thing.
Yeah, I would. I don't know where my next mission or place I'd go was, but probably Europe.
Yeah.
Could have been stationed at Seymour Johnson then.
Mm-hmm.
There are several bases I could have gone to. They could have switched me to another plane.
Yeah.
The F-16 was just coming in, and I would have loved to have flown the F-16.
Yeah. Yeah. That's in.
So,
And those things are so fast. And I talked a little bit about before the show started that I was stationed at Seymour Johnson, and we had the F-15s there as well, which was what I was assigned with to do their numbers. I had to keep up their stat sheets. It was like I was the baseball statistician for all their flight hours and stuff. It seems cool, but it was really not that awesome. It was not an awesome. All these things are necessary jobs. I'm just talking. Thinking back, maybe I should have been a pilot. That would have been fun. That seems exciting to a point because I had no excitement in my life. Then I became a firefighter, paramedic. Things totally changed for me.
Unbelievable.
So here you are. It's October, and you get another mission. And I'm assuming this probably comes in like all the others. Nothing's different about it.
Yeah.
Just you got your mindset. I'm guessing this part. Don't let me ever put words in your mouth. Were you feeling more comfortable at this point?
Oh, yeah.
Haven't been there. It's just another day at work.
I'd flown 60 missions up north already, so it wasn't unusual to go north.
So at this point, you're not really overly concerned about a situation.
No.
It's just a normal day, so to speak.
Just a normal day.
Okay. And at this point, I also want to point out, you didn't have a kid on the way. So I don't know when you came into the picture, Miss Angela.
Much after the war.
Much after the war. I would have assumed, obviously, 1972, but I was born in 73. So, maybe, who knows? And so I'm just sitting here thinking, okay, so you know that you have a whole life ahead of you.
Yeah.
And you take out on this mission. So tell me about the day and then how things took place next.
It was just another normal day for us. But this particular day, the weather was terrible up over the north. Layered clouds up to 20,000 feet. And this was at a time when President Nixon was saying, we've got to make our presence known up there. The peace negotiations are not going well. So we went up north. We went with a reduced package because of the weather. There was no Iron Hand support to F-105s. And we were escorting bombers this particular day. The F-4 bombers. And we took off out of Karat, refueled over Laos, refueled again over the Gulf of Tonkin. And we dropped off the tankers, rendezvoused with the bombers we were escorting and headed into North Vietnam. And it was just another normal day up over the north. We knew that they were looking at us, so our raw gear, radar homing and warning gear, was chirping and beeping and telling us that the radars were looking at us, and they knew. Got to know the target area, and the weather was too bad for them to drop. So they make a big turnout to the east to exit to the Gulf of Tonkin, just north of Haiphong.
I don't mean to interrupt, but I am curious about what you just said, though. So when you said the weather was too bad to drop, so what creates a situation where you couldn't drop bombs?
They were dropping laser bombs.
Okay.
Laser-guided bombs.
Okay.
And you can't do that through the clouds.
Yeah. Okay. That makes. I was just curious because I was not a bombardier, so it's like I'm sitting there thinking about just dropping them. But I see what you're saying. It has to be a lot more precise.
Yeah.
Got you. All right. Please continue. Sorry.
Got into the target area, and because the weather was so bad, they turned out to the east, exit over near just north of Haiphong. And as we were making our turn, I looked up, and there were two MiG-21s coming in from our 10 o'clock high, two enemy fighters. And we reversed our turn to engage these two MiGs. And we were just seconds away from firing on them when a third MiG-21 entered the fight behind us at our Deep Six, fired a missile that impacted our plane. There was a loud explosion. The plane began to cartwheel through the sky, probably blew the tail off. And it just took a few seconds for us to realize our plane was dead. And at 23,000 feet at 500 miles an hour, just 10 miles from Hanoi, we ejected from our plane.
Disneyland does not have a ride like that.
There's nothing like that.
Glad it doesn't. I don't want to live that one.
Holy moly. So you don't even have time to think. This is all training kicking in, I'm assuming. When something like that takes place, you just automatically do it. You're not sitting there thinking to myself, I've got to reach down, I got to hit this. Everything happens.
It's training. Yeah.
So when they hit you, and you have that fast flash recognition, do you remember the ejection? Because I've heard other people that have ejected said that they black out.
Oh, the adrenaline kicked in. It was like slow motion.
Wow.
I saw everything. I saw when I pulled the handle, I saw the my cockpit canopy fly off. The rocket motor between my legs lit off, and I'm coming out of the plane. I saw the plane rolling. I saw front canopy fly off, and I saw Joe, my front seater, punch out. It was all in slow motion. I mean, everything.
And burned into your memory.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember vividly everything that happened at that point.
And let's just go ahead and add this. 23,000 feet. It's not warm up there.
Pretty chilly.
No matter where you are in the world.
Not a lot of oxygen, but we have the oxygen mask on.
Yeah.
And when you eject, the oxygen that's in your seat, a little oxygen bottle in your seat, kicks on. And so we had oxygen, and it was chilly up there, but you're not up there very long. You're falling pretty fast. It was a free fall from 23,000 feet down to 10,000.
So I'm assuming then the parachute comes out at 10,000 feet on its own. There's nothing else. Because obviously people get knocked out. Like I was saying, I've had a few other people I've spoken to, and they said they blacked out completely. So then this thing kicks on, and now you're floating down from 10,000 feet. Are you aware of where you are over the country at that point?
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm assuming you realize that this is enemy territory, and they probably know you're on your way down.
Yeah. Well, at 10,000 feet, the parachute opens up. I'm drifting down, went through another deck of clouds, and at 6,000 feet, I broke out. And I can see Hanoi in the distance. I look down, I can see villages just scattered all around me. And that's when I knew it was going to be a really bad day.
Yeah.
And got on the ground, and at that point, the adrenaline had gone through me, and I was just wasted. There wasn't anything left. And I laid there for a couple of minutes and finally got enough energy to release my parachute riser, and then to begin to crawl, and then to walk, and then to run. And I went probably 200 or 300 yards from where I'd landed, and I found a thicket of thorn bushes and crawled up under them to plot my escape from North Vietnam. I knew there'd be no rescue because it was 10 miles from Hanoi. It was just too dangerous.
Yeah. What did your partner? Did you know where he was?
He was a half mile to a mile away.
Okay.
Because and just the way it happened.
Yeah. Were you able to communicate with him?
Not at that time.
Yeah.
I was pretty busy.
Well, I would imagine. So I didn't know if you guys had like some kind of transponders.
Well, we had radios.
You had radios and stuff. So you could, just not at that moment.
And in going down the chute, I actually got my radio out and broadcasted that I was in the chute okay.
Oh, okay. So they did know.
Some people heard it, yes.
Okay. So then when you get to the ground, you get under these sticker bushes. Do you hear people around you? You know what's going on?
Well, not at that time.
Yeah.
I figured that it's going to be up to me. If I'm going to be rescued, it's going to be up to me. Mm-hmm. So I figured if I could make it to the northeast, to the coast, north of Haiphong, just south of the Chinese border, to an area it's called the Campfire Mines. It's kind of a desolate area. And I figured if I can make it over there, I've got my radio, I can contact somebody, hopefully get a SEAL team to come and extract me off the beach. And that was my plan. So I got out from under the thorn bush and began to E&E, escape and evade, around all the multiple villages that were there. And I'd been going for probably a couple hours. And I began to hear gunshots in the distance, loud shouting. And I figured I better find a place to hide. Now, the only thing I could find was a small valley with some tall grass in it. And I got down the valley in the tall grass, pulled it up around me, and waited. And probably wasn't 10 minutes. I looked up, and there were just hundreds of people on the ridge lines all around me. Just shoulder width apart, just scouring the area for me.
So they knew you were down somewhere.
They knew I was down there, yeah. And as they got closer and closer, probably 20 feet away, one of them saw me, pulled his pistol up, and unloaded his pistol on me. And I could feel bullets whipping past me, but they didn't hit me.
Wow.
And people swarmed over me and began beating me, kicking me, hitting me with bamboo rods, rifle butts. And I really thought that this is where I'm going to die.
Yeah.
And I was almost unconscious when a couple of the NVA troops came up and pulled the people off of me. They got a machete and sliced my clothes off of me with a machete, put a bamboo rod under my arms, tied my elbows together and my wrists together behind me, and began to march me to a nearby village. And all along the way, there were hundreds of people lined up to see the captured American. And all along the way, people were spitting on me, pulling my hair, hitting me with bamboo rods and the broadside of machete blades. And again, I just didn't think I was going to make it.
Sure, there's no reason to think you are at that point. Were you injured prior to them capturing you?
No.
So you actually had escaped unscathed at that moment.
Well, I won't say unscathed. I'm about a half an inch shorter than I used to be.
Well, I guess that is true. That's how many times do they allow a pilot to eject before they decommissioned?
I'm not sure there's a number on that.
I could be completely wrong. I could have swore it was 3, but I've watched a lot of documentaries, and those are not always 100% correct. So I have found that to be true as well.
Yeah.
But I didn't know if it was the same back then.
Maybe after the 3rd plane, they figured this guy just doesn't need to be flying.
They definitely have problems. There's a black cloud. Whether or not it's your fault, you should not be behind there ever again.
That's right.
So, you're being brought into this village. How far do you speculate how far did you have to march before you got to your location?
It was probably a quarter to half mile. It wasn't that far.
Okay.
They got me into the village, put me in a makeshift cell, and all during the afternoon they'd come in and untie my legs and throw me out to another group of people to have at me.
Oh, geez.
And this went on all afternoon. When it got dark, they took me out back to a place where they burned their trash, a concrete building about 5 foot square, and tied me up like you'd tie a calf at a rodeo and threw me in. And I spent that night laying in about 6 inches of soot. Cold in North Vietnam. I was hungry, tired, fearful. I had no idea what was going to happen next. Yeah. And about before dawn, a Jeep drove up outside, and they took me in the back of the Jeep and drove me into Hanoi. And I got my first glimpse of the infamous Wallow prison, Hanoi Hilton.
Yeah, the infamous Hanoi Hilton.
Yeah. Walls are about 12 foot tall. Top 3 feet were embedded with broken glass. Triple strands of concertina wire on the top with what appeared to be a electrical wire running through it. They put me in solitary confinement. My cell was about a 10-foot square concrete room with an iron door on the front, window on the back with bars on it. 2 boards on the floor were my bed. There was a 3-gallon can in the corner of the room. That was my bathroom. And there was a single solitary light bulb dangling from a wire in the middle of the room.
Wow. Was this anything like you would have imagined, or like maybe they would have taught you guys to be wary of, to know about?
Well, nobody ever told me the accommodations I was going to have.
Yeah, then nobody told you about the hotel room they had waiting on you. I was curious if they had information or intel about, hey, look, guys, if you do get caught, this is the life you may end up with. There
was some information out because a few guys had been released. And so they had some flyers that they were trying to get people to be more supportive and try to get the POWs home. So they had some of the information out there. Okay. But I'm sure that the people who were going over there didn't want to know it.
Yeah, well, that could be true too. Sometimes they say that ignorance is bliss, and there's probably a lot of fact to that, because I can see how that would build trepidation of a person wanting to put themselves at risk of being caught.
We actually went through a week-long survival camp.
Was it anything like camp. What you were starting to experience?
No.
Well, it's hard to emulate
that. Interrogations. They put us through interrogations in this training. So we kind of had an idea what the interrogations would be like.
Okay.
So I walked into that not fearful of that, because I had some idea of what was going to happen next.
Yeah. So when you get into the Hanoi Hilton area, do you see other GIs at that point? Do you see other fellow military members?
Not when I was in solitary confinement. What was really neat, though, was it's a lonely time when you're sitting in a cell like that.
Can't imagine.
And I have no idea what's going to happen next to you.
Yeah.
And I thought, I wonder if there's a guy next door to me. So I whistled the Tennessee Waltz and the Air Force hymn. And he whistled back the Yellow Rose of Texas and the Navy hymn.
And
so you guys were communicating, letting know where your state was and
using music.
What branch you were in.
Yeah.
And this plays into
it does, yes.
How the military guys that were caught, the POWs, used music
to communicate.
Well, first of all, I must commend you on being able to whistle.
I can't do it.
I can't whistle. I ended up, I did a swoosh swoo. So I'd have been swoosh swooing something. I said swoosh swoosh swoosh. That's all I could have done. So when you guys start to communicate, does that give you some version of hope?
Well, there is hope. You hate being alone anywhere.
I can't even imagine that, especially in a different country.
I knew
I
wasn't going to see him anytime soon, but at least I knew that there was somebody there.
Yeah.
And so that gave me hope.
Okay, and so let's go to the point where now you're captured. When's the first time you do get interrogated, and what is that like?
It was the next day. Started the interrogations. And the thing I found out really quickly is if you tell a lie, you better be prepared to tell that lie over and over and over, because I wasn't going to give them information that was going to hurt somebody else that was going to be flying the next day.
Yeah.
So, but I realized really quickly that it can be very dangerous trying to lie to these people. So you had to, in your mind, you had to say, this is the truth.
Yeah.
And the interrogations were long, tedious. I was on a small little stool and sitting in front of a big desk with two interrogators behind it. So you're intimidated immediately. But they would ask me about tactics, the equipment, and I just feigned ignorance on a lot of it. I was kind of young officer, first lieutenant, and when they asked me about the AOQ 119 jamming pod, I said, "Oh yeah, we had one of those." They said, "How does it work?" I said, "Well, you turn the little switch on, the little white light comes on." And he said, "Then what?" I said, "Well, that's it." I said, "Turn the light on." He says, "What if it doesn't work?" I said, "I turn it off."
Keeping it simple. That's easy to remember.
Yeah, that was simple.
Yeah, I like that. So whenever they're asking you these questions, how would you know that they would know that you were lying? Because there has to be something. Like, how do they pick up on that? Because it's a different language, right? So they're speaking a broken English or something.
These interrogators spoke very good English.
So they were very intelligent people.
Yeah, very intelligent people.
Okay,
yes.
So then when you're asking you these questions and you're trying to figure out how you're going to be able to defer them, give me some examples, because I know this is not going to be easy. This is not tough. I mean, I'm thinking to myself, if I'm not telling the truth, it's really hard to remember a lie. That's why I always tell the truth. I learned that when I was young. So here you are having to train yourself to be able to remember a lie. That's really tough to do. So what were some of the tricks, or like what were some of the things you would do? Say it over and over in your head?
Just feign ignorance on a lot of stuff.
That's easier.
Here I was a first lieutenant. I told him, I said, "I just got over here." I said, "I don't know anything." I said, they said, I'm just another set of eyes in the back seat.
Yeah.
That's all I am. The guy up front knows everything. Joe didn't appreciate that later when he told me about it.
That's funny. So then whenever you're getting your interrogation stuff, they're putting you back in the hole. How long are you in solitary confinement?
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
And during that time, interrogation almost every day.
Wow.
A lot of beatings. A lot of times when they would put a gun to my head and tell me if I don't tell them the truth, they're going to kill me. Very, very intimidating. Yeah. Because I don't know if they will or not.
Well, I mean, I would assume they would.
They've done it before.
I mean, that's not going to be foreign to me. I'm thinking, yeah, that's probably going to happen. So it's I can see why it would be really scary. So then what are they feeding you at this point?
It's not very much.
Yeah.
In the morning, we get basically hot water, because they had to boil it, because if stuff would, you'd find roaches in your water and all sorts of stuff. So they'd boil the water, and we get a small loaf of bread, and that would be it.
Wow.
And in the afternoon, about 3 or 4 o'clock, we'd get the other meal of the day, and it really ranged. Sometimes it would be 2 or 3 green beans, maybe a little rice. Occasionally, we would get a ham, and when I say ham, it's what they did is they cut down through the pig in little 1/4-inch squares down through the pig, and you'd have about 2 or 3 inches of fat, and then a little piece of ham and rind on top and hair sticking out, and
not cooked, I wouldn't imagine either.
Yeah, I suppose it was. I don't know.
Cook-ish. Not something that you could really complain about. You can't send it back to the kitchen.
It really wasn't enough to tell.
Don't forget about the pumpkin soup, though.
Yeah. We would also sometimes we get soup. Generally, it was either potato soup or pumpkin soup. Now, the pumpkin soup I didn't enjoy getting, because the first time you get it, it would be nice and bright orange. And they would serve it until it all went away. So the next day it'd be a little brown. The next day it'd be black. Oh, and you got black soup until it was all gone.
We never had pumpkin pie in my house.
I can't imagine if somebody would get that slapped straight out of their hand if that would have been me. So when they're giving you this stuff, are you getting sick from any of it?
Probably had diarrhea most of the time I was up there. Most of the guys probably had diarrhea from it.
Can't imagine that it would be something that your body would appreciate.
Yeah, and I lost 50 pounds.
Yeah, and so this is a great spot right here in the video to put that picture up of the fatigues that they put you in. What would you call those things? Pajamas?
I call them pajamas.
Yeah, your Vietnam Hanoi Hilton pajamas.
Yeah.
And so anyways, there's a picture of those things. And did you fill those out whenever, did you fill it up? Like whenever you put them on initially, did they fit?
It was a one-size-fits-all. I could have been a NFL player. They'd have fit pretty good in it. Yeah. But for me, they just hung on me.
And then as you lost weight, they continued to hang more.
Yeah. Well, if you noticed on those things, that they didn't use zippers or buttons. They had ties, little ties that you would just tie up. And, the pants were the same way. You just pull the tie and tie it up. Yeah. So they weren't going to fall off of you, but they weren't form-fitting.
Okay. And so at this point now, you've been in solitary confinement for 3 weeks. What does general population look like for you?
After 3 weeks, I was put in with 3 other guys. One of them was Joe, my front seater. We were at
Is that the first time y'all met back up, I guess?
Yeah. In fact, Joe told me later, he said, they came in and told me that they wanted me to wash your clothes. And he says, they were just bloody. He said, they were torn up and bloodied. He says, I thought I'd killed you. So that's one technique they used against him.
Oh, I see.
But we spent about a month together there at the Hanoi Hilton, and then they moved us over to the Kulak prison, which we called it the zoo. And it was more just existence, survival. Nothing really changed as far as the food or anything. It was just surviving every day.
It had to feel better, though, being around other people at that point.
There were 13 guys in my cell block. There were 5 cells.
Yeah. And what was the communication like? Did they allow you guys to just talk? Or
No, you couldn't talk. You could talk to the people in your cell, but you weren't allowed to communicate anywhere else.
Gotcha. So that wasn't so stringent on that you couldn't even communicate to the guys next to you.
Yeah.
So then talk a little bit now. I'm bringing Dr. Angela for a second. Got your PhD. What was your PhD in?
Musicology.
Musicology, which fits perfectly at this moment. Tell me a little bit about what you know that they were using as far as the songs to not just heal and give them hope, but also what the Viet Cong was using as torture. Explain some of that.
Okay, well, first off, you have to know about the tap code. I'm sure you've heard about the tap code at some point, but that was the main way that they communicated. And they actually used the tap code a lot to communicate about music, because for some reason, singing hymns when the people were in solitary confinement was one of the most healing things.
You know, that makes sense.
So there was a guy, Howard Rutledge, who wrote a book, In the Presence of Mine Enemies, and he talked about how he was in solitary confinement for 5 full years.
Wow.
And he sang 100 hymns a day. Wow. As he walked back and forth, the 4 feet back and forth in the cell. And that's what he says helped him survive.
Yeah.
And so when they couldn't remember the words to a hymn, they would pass them on. And if they were trying to remember them, they might ask the person next to them, who might ask the person next to them. And it could go around the entire camp and take months. But someone would figure it out and get it back to them. But when you're tapping every single letter, it takes a long time.
Yeah. It's Morse code.
Yeah.
It is their own version of Morse code.
Yes.
Wow.
And so when they were mostly in solitary confinement, they would have what they considered church services, where they would tap on the wall to let the person know that it was starting. And then they would silently or very quietly hum the Lord's Prayer or whatever they could do really quietly, maybe whistle it. And if they got in trouble, of course, they'd have to stop. But knowing that someone else in the next cell was doing it at the same time gave them so much hope that they couldn't stop doing it.
Yeah.
So church services were very important to them. And they came up later on. There was something called the church riot. When the guys were moved into really big cells, there were about 50 guys in a cell because the Son Tay raid had happened and Vietnam was really scared that people were going to get rescued. So they moved them all into the Hanoi Hilton in these big rooms. And the guys thought, hey, we can finally talk. We can finally do things. We can have church services, real ones. So they started putting together choirs in all these different rooms. And the first time that they had their church service and they started singing, the Vietnamese were not happy. So they start beating on the walls. This is not authorized. No, you can't do this. And so they don't stop. Then the Vietnamese start coming in. You can't do this. They took out the top 3 guys in the cell and thought that would stop everybody. Because when you're taken out, you know you're going to the change. It's not good. So they thought that would stop them. It didn't. So they took out the next 3 guys. And then Bud Day jumped up on the bed, which was just a big solid wood plank where they had 19 inches of space per person, and started singing at the top of his lungs all the songs he could think of. God Bless America, Star Spangled Banner, Battle Hymn of the Republic. And all the guys got up there and joined him. And they were singing, this was all in what was called Cell 7. There was a whole line of cells. So then Cell 6 picked it up, and then Cell 5. And then it went all the way around the camp where they're all singing together, the top of their lungs. And it goes on all day and all night in the middle of downtown Hanoi, where it can be heard by everyone that's not in that camp, which was extremely embarrassing. The only way they finally stopped it was with tear gas and bayonets.
Wow.
But the one thing that they ever won by protesting in that entire time of the Vietnam War was church services. They got to do it after
Did
that.
anyone get killed from that? I mean, like, were they coming
No,
in?
there were some that ended up being in stocks for months because of it, though.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That took such bravery. It almost makes me wonder, you have that group of people, you're getting that kind of gutsy. Why didn't you just bum rush them and just like, let's just go.
Because they had guns and bayonets and tear gases.
I know. It's like, but that took so much guts.
Oh, I know.
Because how would you know that they're not going to come kill you for singing?
You didn't know. But at this point, they had been there for so long and they finally had other people around them. So they felt this strength, this bravery.
To a point, yeah.
And so they didn't fight for food or water or bathroom privileges or anything like that. They fought for church services.
And were you a part of any of the singing activities once you got over to the group?
Well, I was in my cell block. I actually led the church, the music in their church service.
It's funny, actually. That's how I started researching this, because I was going to write a dissertation about early music in Italy. And then I got in a really bad wreck and couldn't go to Italy. Mm-hmm. So I was trying to figure out what else am I going to do. And somehow I just thought, hey, Dad, did you ever sing while you were over there? And he said, yeah, I led the church service in my cell block. And I said, what? Tell me more.
How old were you at that point?
I was, hold on, 31, 32.
So for 3 decades, you just kept that to yourself. That's interesting.
It just never came up.
That's interesting.
And that got me, I started asking him all kinds of questions. And then I started reading books, the memoirs of other people. And I started talking to other people. You know, he was in touch with a lot of the POWs. I was able to talk to a bunch of them. I interviewed 30-something of them. And somebody went over there and took a picture of his guitar that he got to play while he was in there. That's in the Hanoi Hilton Museum after the war ended.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
They have lots of pictures on the wall of the museum there showing how wonderful they treated our Americans. But
of course,
after the war ended, yes.
Propaganda, of course.
But that same guitar that they brought him and let him play is hanging on the wall in that museum now.
Wow.
So when I got that picture, it was just amazing to me. I was like, Dad, does this look familiar? He's like, that's it. That's my guitar.
So how much did that actually play to your mental psyche? Because let's be honest with you, when you're in a tough spot like that, you don't know if you're going to live or die. There has to be something that connects you to humanity. The singing and the church services sounds like that was the thing that kept you guys going.
These guys in the cells with me they're like brothers. Yeah. I mean, it was an amazing bond that we had. Mm-hmm. And singing together, playing the guitar, it was kind of reminding us of home.
Yeah.
So it was good for us.
I could only imagine, because you hear about, not relating, but kind of slaves. That was a big thing. I've spoken to some people that had family members that were slaves, and that's what they talked about was the hymns and stuff that they would sing to keep their heart and their hope going forward.
Yes.
And anytime a person's in captivity or difficult, you hear about these stories coming out of the prayer and the ability to have some kind of unity. And obviously the singing was bringing about unity to be able to keep you guys going in a very tough spot. I have a question, though, that crossed my mind, so I have to ask this real quick. Were you there when Ken Wells was captured as well? Were y'all there together?
Ken was shot down before me.
So was he still there when you got there, or was that at a different time?
Yeah,
he was still there when you got there. Because he had been on my show, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, it just dawns on me, because he's talking about the tapping of the walls and how they would have to time the guards to get up and then put a piece of paper up in the top part where they could slide through to the next thing. You guys were creative.
They call it Yankee ingenuity. They came up with the most amazing things. I was blown away every time I heard the stuff they were doing. In fact, even the guitar thing, before they were given a guitar, a lot of them created their own musical instruments from whatever they could find. And one of the cell blocks actually put on 2 full Broadway musicals in their cell with costumes and everything that they made from whatever they could find. Sound of Music and South Pacific. Yeah. So they had the guys playing the girl parts and everything, and they got so much out of it. So whether they were singing for God or they were singing just for fun, it was something that really helped them. That's why I came up with the Faith, Hope, and Torture title for my dissertation. Of course, the torture part was also music.
I was about to ask you about that. So that's a good time then. Blend us to a little bit of this. We see how you guys were using gospel hymns, and then it sounds like some comedic moments just to kind of keep your sanity going. So how are they using the music as torture?
Well, there were 2 ways. First off, they had propaganda. They had some Christmas services, and they had church services that they televised that were not what the POWs actually got to do. They were what they were forced to do. One guy was tortured into playing the organ for one of them, where he couldn't use his fingers anymore. because the torture that they did was so bad, where they would put your arms behind your back and then pull up and hang you by them. So you'd lose the ability to use your fingers, and he was forced to play the organ. But a lot of the guys would choose to be part of those services because their families didn't know they were alive. And so there's a guy, Quincy Collins, that I got to spend a few days with. He was called the Music Man. And he went into one of those because his family had not known for several years that he was alive. And he used that as a way to communicate. So I have a recording of him singing, "Oh, holy night, we're over at the zoo. 175 guys just like you." They would get information out because the guards didn't speak well enough English. They weren't the interrogators. They were just regular guards. So they
throwing in some extra stuff. I like that.
Yes.
Gosh, you guys are so crafty.
And I mean, the guy that got released, Doug Hegdahl, was able to tell every single person who was there to the tune of Old MacDonald Had a Farm. He memorized every name of every guy there. Wow. So yeah, they used music. It's amazing what they did.
So clever.
So Quincy actually was so loved by the guards for putting on the Christmas program that they let him have a broadcast over the radio, the camp radio, which he called Camp BS, because it's broadcasting system, of course.
Yeah, broadcasting system, of course.
And he comically would interpret the Vietnamese songs, and the guys got a big laugh out of it until one of the turncoat people unfortunately turned him in, and he went to a punishment camp.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, but while he was there, he was able to write hundreds of songs of sheet music on toilet paper that he brought home.
Oh, my. That's got to be in a museum somewhere then.
No, he has it all, but I have pictures of it. It's amazing. The toilet paper there had wood in it. It's not what we're used to. It's not Charmin.
It's called John Wayne toilet paper.
If you're able to write...
Don't take crap off nobody. Yeah. I'm sorry.
That's great.
Sound like a dad joke, y'all. Dad jokes.
No, they did not have pens or pencils either, so he had to use a bone that he got out of his food or diarrhea pills to make ink or whatever, and so he wrote lots of music like that. But back to the torture part.
So smart, man.
Yeah. So the propaganda was one thing, but they also used music torture the way that we did in Gitmo. They would choose music either based on the sound or the words. So some of the music would be things that they knew would hurt because they were stuck there forever. So I'll be home for Christmas, if only in my dreams, or Don't Fence Me In, or there used to be a ballpark right here. Things that were really sentimental and would make them sad, or songs about their wives cheating on them. They loved songs like that. The guys hated them, obviously. It was heart-wrenching because they didn't know if their wives were waiting for them or not. A lot of them didn't.
Yeah.
So that was rough. But the worst thing was the Vietnamese music, because we are not attuned to it here. It's different scales. It's very discordant to our ears. We can't make sense of it. So when you're playing the Dan Bao, which is a one-stringed instrument.
I know what you're talking about.
And it's just, that's what it sounds like. And they play it for days on end as loud as they can because they have a speaker in every cell. The guys would say, "Give me the ropes. I'd rather have the ropes than this. This is killing me."
Yeah.
They would be turning green. They would be sick from it. So yeah, the music torture is a real thing. Your brain cannot make sense of it, so it makes you crazy.
Yeah, man.
And what I truly believe is the only way that the guys came home sane is because they retook the music for themselves and used it to heal themselves after that. A lot of people that went through the music torture in Gitmo can't hear any sound whatsoever because it hurts them. Yeah. They never took hold of the music for themselves again.
Yeah, I'm familiar with people that have been captive, not necessarily in this situation. I'm talking about Vietnam, but I'll put it this way. I'll go back to another documentary. All right. So I saw a documentary of this guy that was captured, and he was a well-to-do person in Mexico. And that was one of the things they did. We put him in a small box, and they would just blast music 24/7 as loud as it could go. And yeah, I could see how that makes you go stir crazy. I mean, I'm going to be honest, when my grandkids come over, it only takes about 35 minutes and I'm losing my mind because they're so loud and that ain't even music.
And that's sound that you can understand.
Exactly. So it's like, my head.
The two guys I had talked to that did not have problems with it had actually been around that music. They were stationed in places where that music was played regularly. So they were used to it already. They did not get subjected to it for the first time in a bad situation. So if you're not starving and scared for your life and you hear the music, it won't bother you. So that was one of the coolest things I found out, actually, was that if they had heard that music before, it would not have gotten to them like that.
Yeah. Something that's fascinating here is for just a point to make is, do you find it ironic that we're in a music studio outside of here and you're the music guru, if you will, of the Vietnam War? So yeah, it's just by chance that it happened that way. For those of you that are not aware, outside of this podcast studio, there's an entire big music studio that they use to teach kids. So very fascinating, very fitting as well. You mentioned something that I wanted to go back and ask you about. So you talked about communication to family and how that they would get that word out. How soon was it that you found out, or did you find out, that your family knew you were still alive?
They didn't know I was alive until after the war was over.
Wow. So the whole time,
yeah,
your wife was just assuming that you didn't make it.
No, she actually said, I believed you were still alive.
Oh, really?
But she didn't know for sure.
Yeah.
And she was 19 when they got married, so she was 21 at that time.
It's a hard way to grow up.
Yeah.
You ain't got enough life experience to be able to fight through some stuff.
Yeah.
Man, so then you weren't able to get a word out or anything, but you said that you got a radio transmission out as you were going down.
Well, I had a survival radio on me, so I pulled it out.
So nobody tried to get word back that they knew that you had survived your plane going down?
Well, what she learned when they came and told her, they said that I was shot down. They knew that I got out of the plane.
Okay.
And I went down an area I was probably captured.
Okay.
That's what they told her.
So she knew that you were going to be missing in action, and then from that point forward, there's no way to get any word back until the day of your rescue.
Yeah.
So let's walk back to the camp here for a second. So now that you're in general population, if you will, what is a day-to-day activity for you, sir? Like, what is the day, a normal day for Cecil up there in general population, if you will?
Yeah, about 7 o'clock in the morning, they'd bring our food and water, and usually one of the guys would be chosen to fill out the plates and everything, and we'd eat breakfast and clean it up, and then they'd put us back in our cells, and we'd spend the rest of the day in our cells until 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. In our cells, depending on who you were with, it changed what we would do. I had one good friend of mine, Rudy Zuberbuehler. He grew up in the Northwest in Idaho. His dad was a forest ranger, and he was a downhill skier, a racer. And he taught me how to ski standing on the boards on my bunk.
Really?
I can tell you for a fact, it doesn't work really well.
I'm sitting here wrapping my head around this. I'm like, you were gifted then, because I can't imagine how that would help me. So that, just another way to pass time.
There was a guy that learned how to play a golf course perfectly by doing it while he was there. So it can work, but...
Visualization.
Yes.
Well, I'm going to go back to the Thunderbirds we mentioned. That's one of the training techniques in that documentary that they talk about. They'll visualize. So they'll sit at a table, not actually in the cockpit, and go through all their moves with their eyes closed.
Yeah.
And so it does make sense what you're saying, though, being in a cell, still visualizing, going through that in your head, and then, going through the motions, if you will, of what that looks like. I could see how some of that, but I don't know how I don't think I could learn how to ski.
Well, we did other things. We would tell movies, a lot of us had seen a lot of different movies. So one night we would choose somebody, and they would tell a movie and just get as detailed as they could about it. We had all the time in the world to do it. So
sure.
Make up things I couldn't remember.
Who's going to know?
Who's going to know? You can tell all the fish stories you want there, and nobody's ever going to know the difference.
Yeah.
Did you have moments where you saw people not dealing okay with it, slipping, if you will?
If we never let a guy go down, we were very close to each other.
Good.
Helped each other along, encouraged each other. It was a brother thing.
Strength through community.
That's it.
I think there's a lot of life lessons here. Talking about the difficult situation being captive, man, how true is that still to life that we live right now? People, it could be anything. It could be all walks of life. People go through tough stuff and tough moments. And when you have someone that you can lean on and go to and help get you through those tough times, and it could be everything in life, man, that just, to me, this speaks volumes beyond just being a POW. This is how we should be in life. Be there for each other.
Absolutely.
There were guys that actually would just lay down and give up and decide that they don't want to make it anymore. And everyone else would do everything they could to bring them back.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful the way they were a family there. They took care of each other, even if it meant they would get tortured for it.
Yeah. Band of brothers for real.
Yeah. I mean
that's really
every time
the truth.
when they were doing systematic torture, they would go from cell to cell and they would just break you, and then they go to the next person, and they would try to keep going further and longer so the next person didn't have to get tortured as soon. I can't imagine.
That is, yeah. I mean, you're familiar with Senator McCain.
Yeah.
And I know he was a prisoner at Hanoi Hilton. I read one of his. It was like a bio. It wasn't a novel. It was a bio. It was small. It was a small little thing about him and what led him to become a senator. And he talks about too how some of the guys in his cells next to him in solitary, how they would do what you're saying. They would just keep going because they knew the next guy up couldn't deal with it much.
Yeah.
And they wanted to keep fighting to get the torture, whatever it took to keep it off of the next guy that was up in the line.
So
because they would go down the
selfless.
line. Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about now. So you were there for 5 months. Is that correct?
5.5 months.
5.5 months. And what is the day like whenever you realize we might be getting out of here?
Oh, well, before you do that, tell them about the Christmas time,
All right,
Christmas
tell me.
bombings.
We were at the zoo. I was in my cell about 2:00 in the morning. A plane goes a jet low and fast across right over our roof here. And so, we realized what that was. We rolled off our bunks to just boards on concrete blocks. And a few seconds later, we heard bombs going off about a half mile away. Figured they were going after the GCI site at the Guillemot Airport. That's the GCI was what controlled the MiGs, the enemy fighters. About 10 minutes later, another jet comes right across our top of our cell. Again, rolled off. A few seconds later, the bomb's going off. About 10 minutes later, a third one came across, but only this time, the bombs went off immediately as he went over. And landed about 90 feet outside our cell.
So they're right on top of you now.
Yeah. The bomb landed about 90 feet outside our wall. The concussion was unbelievable. The noise was deafening. When the dust cleared, I could see my cell, and I could see the iron door on my cell block was twisted. There was shrapnel embedded in all the walls. The roof had fallen in on top of us.
Oh, wow.
You could see through the 1.5-foot thick concrete walls, the holes in the walls. But the amazing thing is nobody was hurt.
That is amazing.
That's truly amazing.
Yeah.
They put us in moved us into another cell block. And a couple of days later, they moved us all back over to the Hilton. I was in a cell with about 40 other guys. And every night, the night that they started with the jets, that was also the beginning of the 11-day war, which is when the B-52s started coming up north, dropping thousands of bombs every night. And on December the 23rd, about the 4th or 5th night of bombing, it was really ferocious. Bombs were falling nearer to us, and the noise, again, was deafening.
So did the Air Force or whoever, I'm assuming the Air Force, did they know? They had no idea you guys were right there, though, did they?
Oh, they did.
They knew where the camps were. Yeah.
That's why they didn't actually hit right on it.
Yeah, but the bombs were getting closer to us. Again, the ground was actually heaving from the concussions of the bombs. Like thousands of bombs falling every night. And we thought this might be our last night on this earth.
Yeah. And
I started singing the Lord's Prayer, and guys around me picked up on it, and we were singing the Lord's Prayer together. And God did an amazing thing for me during this time. It's like he pushed the mute button on all the noise and the confusion. And in those moments, it was just me and God. And that night, I rededicated my life to Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. And I knew if something happened to me that night that I was going to be spending eternity with Jesus.
Yeah.
Bombings went on for another week after that. And all of a sudden, it stopped. And we figured, well, something's going on, but we didn't know what. And we finally got word that a peace agreement had been reached.
Wow. What year was this? This is 73?
This is 73, yeah.
Yeah.
Part of the peace agreement was that they were going to exchange prisoners. We would be released, and then we would release their prisoners. And I didn't really know when it was going to happen. I knew I'd be one of the last groups to go home. Because,
how did you get word of that?
Well, we actually had a Thai prisoner, Chachorn Harnavi, and he understood the Vietnamese language, and he could hear people talking. Oh. So once he got word of that, he put the word out to the camp, tap code around the camp. Mm-hmm. So we knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
What was really funny was the Vietnamese decided to have a big production out of it. And they were going to take us all into this auditorium there in the zoo. And they were going to make this big announcement that we were going to go home, that the war was over. They had cameras rolling, they had microphones everywhere, and they were expecting this exuberance. And they put the word out, when they tell us, sit there, don't do anything.
I love it. The cold shoulder moment. That's so
that's
good.
what happened. I mean, they got mad at us again because we ruined their propaganda moment.
That is so funny. You guys were very with it to be in such a tough spot, thinking ahead, being very clever about things. Man, that is impressive.
The prisoners in Vietnam most of them were college educated. Most of them were more mature.
Yeah.
They knew better how to do life.
Yeah.
They were mostly officers. A lot of them were in their 40s. A lot of them had their marriage and kids that are even almost grown.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So a lot of them even had masters and above in degrees. Yeah. So yeah, it was not your normal 18-year-olds.
Right. Because I know me at 18, 19 years old. I'm getting everybody in trouble. We in trouble. We're probably not making it out past a 2-day period.
There's a big difference between the North Vietnamese and South Vietnamese camps, though, because the South was a lot more of the guys on the ground.
I see what you're saying. That makes sense.
But the North was always the pilots.
Usually pilots. Yeah, right. Yeah, because you guys having to go so far up north. So then the bombing and stuff that subsides. They make a big production. You guys are going home. How long after that moment till you actually see this might be happening now? Because I know I would be skeptical. I'd be like, we'll believe it when we see it.
We knew that my group was going to be probably one of the last ones to go home because we were shot down last.
Oh, I see.
And so we would actually see the C-141 coming in with big red cross on the tail. We knew that somebody was going home, so that helped a bunch.
Sure.
Just to know that there is an end in sight.
Yeah.
And a couple of months went on, and we figured that it's probably our turn now. And but I was wondering, how am I going to know when I'm going home? Well, I'm sitting in my cell block one day, and I'm looking through the bars on the window, and I see this guy in a white suit walk through the compound. And I looked again, and son of a gun, it was Walter Cronkite.
Oh, are you serious?
One of the most respected newscasters in America at the time.
You had to be rubbing your eyes. It's like, I'm hallucinating.
Yeah,
There's no way this is real.
Again, and sure enough, it was him. And I said, guys, we're going home today. Yelled
That's
it
impressive.
out.
That's so cool.
It wasn't. Just a couple hours later, they brought around the clothes that we were going to be going home in. They took us out to Gia Lam Airfield. Saw the C-141 land, pull up in the ramp. They took us out to the flight line. For the repatriation ceremony, there was tables on one side for the North Vietnamese delegation, tables on the other side for the American delegation. Standing right between them was a full U.S. Air Force colonel in his dress blues. And as our names were called, we marched forward, saluted the colonel. He saluted back, put his hand out, and said, "Welcome home, son." I was led to the awaiting plane, and as I turned to walk up the ramp of the plane, my eyes fell upon a field of red, white, and blue. And as I stood on that ramp with butterflies in my stomach and lump in my throat and tears in my eyes, I knew I was going home to my America.
Yeah. Wow.
Great day. What a great day.
So when you get on that plane and you're flying back home, when's the first time you get to talk to your wife? I got to know, because this is what I'm thinking about.
I painted it.
Oh, wow. You're an artist too?
Yes.
Get out of here, girl. This is a little wealth of talent. I'm going to hold this up to the camera here. Let's see here. Wow. That is a great job. You're a very talented young lady. So tell me about that first time you hear your wife's voice back to you.
Well,
I got to hear it.
They took us to Clark Air Force Base in the Philippines, to the hospital there. And they told me I could call my wife. So I went down. They had a bank of phones down there, phone booths. And all you had to do was pick up the phone, and the operator would answer it. She said, "Who would you like to talk to?" And I said, "I want to talk to my wife in Memphis, Tennessee." They had all our numbers, everything. They just connected us. And talked forever on that phone.
Wow.
long distance. I'm sure it costs the government a lot of money.
Back in them days in the 70s, everything costs money for long. Now you can just sit there and send a text to China. It doesn't matter where you're sending. It's no big deal.
But I made several phone calls to her while I was there.
Wow.
But we had the hospital had a dedicated restaurant for us, dining place facility. And you could walk in there any time of day, 24 hours a day, and say, I'm hungry, I want this. Mm-hmm. And they'd cook it for you. If you wanted a steak, if you asked for something they didn't have, if you wanted Maine lobster or Gulf shrimp, the next day a plane was flying it in.
I love hearing that. That's good. I love that.
Yeah.
They took care of the POWs when they came home.
I mean, look, you don't always hear that. You always hear the stories of our military guys being taken care of so well. So I'm really glad to hear that they were doing that.
Yeah.
It's always fascinating to hear what that next thing is. Olin Pickens. I know you're friends with him. He's been a part of the Forever Young Veterans organization for a long time. And when I had him on the show, he talked about when he got home, he had a mile to his house from like the bus station. And he decided to walk home. And he's like, and I don't know why I decided to walk home. I had an opportunity for it. I said, I know why you walked home. You walked into that war.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You walked out. You know why it hits? Because you guys, I fight emotion a lot of times. You guys are the heroes of this country. You put it out there. And I'm so blessed to have folks like you come in here and talk and tell your story, share your story with folks. It hurts when I see people that put down America.
Yes.
It was hard for the Vietnam guys when they came home to be spit on.
Very much so.
When they would walk off the planes. And what was really neat with Forever Young is they would do these honor flights to Washington, D.C. and take the guys to all the memorials, let them see all that stuff, what was done for them, the Vietnam Wall. And when they flew us back in and we landed back in Memphis, there were 200 to 300 people to greet the veterans that came home. And that was for them, for some of those, that was the first time anybody had thanked them.
Miss Diane told me that. She said it was for many of them, that was the biggest healing moment, was to feel welcomed for the first time back in their country.
The reason that a lot of the POWs were so much healthier when they came home, or two reasons. One, they were actually debriefed. So they were able to talk about things instead of holding it in forever. But also they were welcomed with such enthusiasm and excitement. And everyone was so grateful for them instead of being treated like they had been horrible, killers out there hurting people. So that reception is a very big, important part of coming home.
It's funny because I always try to suppress some of the emotion, but when I just think about what y'all did and how you come back to this country, and then to see sometimes in the news, and it's always going to be there. Doesn't matter for this. If America was around for another 10,000 years, you're going to have those people that don't understand what it takes to have a country free. They don't understand the sacrifice. I mean, just being gone from your family, just for 12 months. Let's just say everything went hunky-dory. There was no problem. You're away from your wife for 12 months. Most people don't have to deal with that in their entire lifetime of their relationship. They don't have to disappear for 5 months, 6 months, a year, longer. It is only a sacrifice that people that choose to really pay attention and see what those individuals, the military in particular, have to go through and take care of themselves, their family, and then this country. And I'm just indebted. So for both of you guys to take time out of your day to come down here to this studio here in Hernando, Mississippi, and share your story is absolutely phenomenal. I would be remiss if I did not mention a handful of things here. So I'm going to read off some of your bio, if I may, sir.
Sure.
Because here you are, you're back home now, and then I know that the rest of your life goes pretty normal at that point from what I've read on your bio. So just to throw it in there, in 1980, you left the active duty Air Force, went to the National Guard. You at that time, soon after that, I would say, you came back to Memphis. You got on FedEx, which was one of your dream jobs that I read there in your bio, and that was in 1986. And you stayed with FedEx for a good number of years, all the way up to 2010 before you retired from there. You had joined the National Guard, like I said, in 80. You retired from the National Guard in 91. And this is some of the incredible awards, medals that you won while you were in the Air Force. He is the recipient of the Silver Star. He has 2 Distinguished Flying Crosses. He has a Bronze Star for Valor, 2 Purple Hearts, 13 Air Medals. The Air Force, boy, I'll tell you what, sometimes words are hard for Chris. The Air Force Commendation Medal, the Prisoner of War Medal, the South Vietnam Cross of Gallantry. And in your time flying and fighting, you got 1 MiG.
Yes.
You knocked down. So, and then in 2018, not to have any question to this, there's no mystery. Like, I don't know why this guy got it. He was inducted into the Tennessee Aviation Hall of Fame. Sir, if you were not, I would protest that there was ever a Hall of Fame. I'm just saying. It's my opinion. So for you, now, you're obviously inspired by Dad. How old were you when the first time, because we're putting a couple buttons on it before we wrap up here. Mm-hmm. So how old were you the first time that Dad opens up and tells you some of these incredible stories of his experience?
I actually grew up hearing him speak. So I was used to hearing his story. But a lot of the details came in much later. And when we started going around speaking together, I learned a lot and started having a lot more questions. And it opened up another world for me. And I feel like it brought us closer together than we ever had been because I got to really understand what he went through.
Yeah.
I even started putting together slides for us to use during the speeches with all the pictures. So I got to see what it actually looked like, where I'd heard it forever, but when you see it, it's different. So it made it
That's
real.
The painting.
Yeah.
Obviously, yeah.
Yeah, but just what the inside of the cell looks like and all those things, it's never exactly what you expect. And it's much darker and worse. So it made it so much more real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you guys decide to go and speak together. You said he was speaking and that kind of brought you into it. And then you guys, y'all go and speak now. So tell me a little bit about what that process is. Where do you guys go and talk? And then I'm assuming you just share the story like we just shared here today. He
gives his story and then I tell the story of a lot of the people that were there. And depending on how long they want us to speak, sometimes it's 10 minutes, sometimes it's an hour. Sometimes they have just me speak too. So we've been to a lot of different Veterans Day ceremonies and military history shows and all kinds of things. Where else have we been? I don't even know.
Churches, schools.
Retirement homes, just all kinds of things, yeah.
And, sir, what does it mean to you to have your daughter on board with this thing, man?
Oh, it's awesome.
I can only imagine. You know, my kids, there's a really good chance they will grow old and die and never even really know what Dad did.
Well, that's most people.
I know, right? They'll never know all the stuff I did on a fire department or in the military, any of the stuff. They don't ask questions and it's just probably common just not to talk about stuff.
Yeah.
But I think it's a really special bond. I love seeing that you guys are on this journey together. And I think it's so important to share your story of what you went through in the survival and then what it means to you too. And I think that that's kind of what we need more of in this country is people sharing those moments because it's lost otherwise. If you don't tell that story, it's gone in time. And it's like I always say, you know, how do you appreciate grandma's recipe if you don't pass it on to the next generation?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Sir, you got to pass this on. So I'm so glad, so thankful that you came down here to the studio to share that personal story and then you to be able to kind of relate those things and then tell the story of the music. I got news for you. That's something I never even would have thought of.
No one had ever researched it before.
I can't imagine that would pop in there.
I gave a copy to all the guys that I interviewed so they could read it. And several of them said they had never even put it all together before. And it was really healing for them. So that meant the world to me that I could help them. So
do you have this out there somewhere that people could purchase?
No, I need to do that. I need to publish it. But
if you do, come back to me. I will put it in some notes and we'll broadcast that.
All right.
That's one of the cool things too about being here is I will find out many times on the show that's like, oh, and I've written a couple books about it. I was like, all right, so let's just go ahead and put that in here because I mean, these stories need to live on. So it's so impressive, so incredible. Is there anything you would like to leave the listeners with before I wrap up with you, sir?
I think the thing that we need to tell the American people is that freedom is not free. Mm-hmm. That's the one thing that they should learn. They should know. Generations of Americans have made the ultimate sacrifice through the years. Mm-hmm. Millions of Americans. And we need to honor that. We need to be aware that freedom is not free and that we need to guard it. with everything we can.
Absolutely, sir. James Williams said the same thing when he was on my show, and it's such an inspiration to know that, folks, man, you're willing to put it out there, and I hope that the next generation takes that same pride and love in America, because I know I do, and that's why I appreciate it so much. Is there anything that you would like to leave my listeners with, ma'am?
Well, the love for America, absolutely. A lot of people these days are saying how America's got problems and they don't want to be here. And I'm like, just go to any other country and tell me that you don't want to come back here immediately.
I'm telling you.
There's not a place that's
it's a
anywhere
lack
like
of perspective many times. Yeah.
But when it comes to music, it is healing. It is powerful, especially when you're worshiping. So anytime you're in a bad place in your life, that's where you need to go.
That's great advice. Thank you for that. Dr. Angela, Mr. Cecil, thank you guys. Lieutenant Colonel.
Carry on.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, guys. I want to thank y'all every week for tuning in. Look, I'm blessed to have these guests on. I'm blessed to have you guys as my fans out there, the viewers, the supporters. I love y'all. Please continue to tune in. I'm going to ask you right now, go to my website, motivatewithcoachcamp.com. Subscribe to my YouTube. And until next time, Coach Camp out.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me. Better believe in your mind, cause it's everything. You can mold, shape,